All right, so welcome back to the show. Today I got my boy Ashwin, who also goes by Ashwin if you're Indian, but we call him Ashwin. He's probably one of my oldest friends. Known him since probably 2 or 3 years old. Grew up together. He's currently working as a RPA developer, and he's based in the Bay Area. He's just going to talk about his journey a little bit, kind of what he does for work, and he's going to talk about life, casual conversation between two friends. So, Ash, if you want to just introduce yourself for people who don't know you.
Yeah. My name is Ashwin. I also go by Ash. As Manoj said, I'm an RPA developer, large consulting firm. Thought I would just help him get started on what he's working on here. Obviously, this is new for me as well.
So, what does a RPA developer actually do on a day-to-day basis?
So basically, RPA, okay, I should start with that because not many people know what RPA is. Before, companies would use APIs and most modernly AI native automation solutions. They would use RPA, which basically stands for robotic process automation. It's like this procedural programming based software development. And essentially, it's a little older and more legacy focused. A lot of big old dinosaur consulting firms will use it, and it makes them a lot of money, but it has some issues as well, and requires constant attention, I'd say, and very precise development skills.
So, how did you kind of get into this role?
So, in all honesty, not necessarily fully by choice. I came into my consulting firm with a few set of skills and with some very specific experience. I was an API developer actually before I joined my current company, and I was an API developer for a financial institution. And so from there, I brought some Java-based skills, some enterprise Java skills, and they sort of kind of aligned me to a project that had some matching with that skill set, but also adhering to a big need that they had at the time, which was RPA. So I served that client for a while, and actually recently I got rolled off, finally done with that RPA role, and I'm hoping for more modern stuff going forward for my next client engagement.
Interesting. So, were you familiar with RPA? Did you have any experience with it? How did you kind of learn that on the fly?
Not at all, actually. I had no clue what it was whatsoever, and I had to start, and it was not easy to get up to speed and to get into the groove of being sort of on the front lines, I'd say, because my title was as an RPA developer, but I definitely did have to handle some production related issues. So yeah, it was not easy. It took a lot of shadowing sessions and communicating with people, but I think actually that's one thing I'm not bad at. So I'm able to like absorb from my teammates pretty well.
So, you kind of just learned on the job once you were assigned to the project?
Exactly. Yeah. Thankfully, a lot of the people from my firm that I started onto this project with were also fairly new to RPA as well. So we got to kind of learn together from the client people, like the stakeholders and all the like higher ups on the client side as well.
Nice. Yeah, I think with consulting jobs, especially, it's a lot more difficult because whoever was previously running that role, they don't really care after they're off the project and they just pass it on to you without any assistance or without any information. So it's definitely a hands-on learning experience. I think I've experienced that as well. So what did you kind of study in college?
Engineering, pretty much. I started off as an electrical engineering major, but to tell you the truth, I wasn't all that focused, or I didn't really have a hone in on my specific ambition for the first couple of years of college. But I switched over to computer science, and from there, I really honed in on what I wanted to do, and I started getting good at it, I would say, and having a better understanding of it, and that's what I finished with eventually.
You started with electrical engineering. What was your kind of goal when you started college? What did you kind of want to do? How did that sort of change as you went through college?
Well, so obviously, software development was a huge thing even when I was finishing up high school and stuff. A lot of people were taking AP level, like computer science courses. So it was still definitely at the forefront of what everybody wanted to do. But I chose double E at that time because I always felt secure in the prevalence of hardware related jobs that might be more of a concrete thing to rely on than the fleeting nature of like a lot of software companies.
Interesting. So when you switched over to software engineering, was that a difficult switch? Was it pretty easy to transition into?
It's pretty easy. I'd say it would be harder to go the other way. You definitely have to learn some software development stuff in double E as well. So.
So when you were a kid, did you always think like, yeah, I'm going to be an engineer, or like how did this sort of come about?
Well, so I actually wanted to be my first goal was to be a dinosaur when I grew up, the age of like 3 or 4. But then as I grew older and matured a little bit, I was always interested in science, but to be interested enough in it to do it as a profession, you got to be into math, and that only really came a lot later, I would say. But yeah, that's sort of how my interest grew. But I've always had a passion for all sciences. I'm always into going to like physics museums, going to biology museums, life science museums, stuff like that.
So I have a interesting question for you. So obviously we're both Indian, right? Indian household society, they kind of push children to kind of go into medical fields, engineering fields. Those are more the common career paths for like a Indian origin person. Do you think that kind of played a role in your choice, or it was just kind of natural to you as well?
Definitely did. But like, I would say that if the security and the prestige of what that career meant wasn't there, then I wouldn't have pursued it. Because with software development, you can make a nice salary with relatively little years of schooling compared to those other professions that you mentioned. So that was probably like the main reason, I would say. So like, even if my dad wasn't an engineer, I think that good chance because of that, I would still have gone down this path.
I definitely think that's true. I think in college, as soon as you're done with college, if you do a business degree, you're not making shit. But if you do an engineering degree, you're getting a decent paycheck, at least compared to your peers, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, better.
Oh,
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, I don't think I really knew that, to be honest, when I was younger. I always thought like, oh, you make the same amount of money when you kind of finish college, but I guess you live and you learn, right? So was there ever a moment early on when you felt like, okay, I actually am supposed to be an engineer. I enjoy doing this. What kind of spark kind of ignited in you?
I would say like I got started getting A's like in like the last couple of years of school in like those higher level algorithms and CS courses basically, and that gave me some confidence. But I would probably my first job in which I developed an API, and I like it was only for 6 months, but I do like to say that I developed and released end to end one full API, so it's like one conclusive bit of experience that made me feel like an adult and like an actual engineer. I would say when I was able to do all the iterative steps necessary to make that happen.
So what was the hardest part from like going from like college to your first job and like working 8-hour days? Would you say it was difficult? It kind of came naturally to you?
I think it was easier, man. It just like I loathed in college was like getting pulled in different directions. Like focused on studying one subject, and then you're finally done, and then you have to like switch gears completely to something completely different, right? So I liked being able to hone in on one thing and just spend most of my time on that, and have like a teammate to sort of work with at the same time.
Yeah, I think I definitely agree too. I've honestly never thought about it like that, where it's like in college you're studying a subject and then the next semester you don't think about that subject at all. But then in a career, it's kind of like years and years and years of just the same thing over and over again, repetition, right? And like everyone says, it's discipline, hard work that makes someone successful, not really talent, right? So I think that's probably why the most successful people have become successful, is probably because they have that repetition in their specific field, or they're experts in their specific field.
That's true. But I would also add to that, like from that point, going to Deloitte, it was like regressing. At least that's how it felt a little bit. Because like I was saying, not only was I an RPA developer, but I had to handle production issues as well, deal with customers, deal with stakeholders. So I was also getting pulled in lots of different directions. However, after a couple of years of kind of not appreciating that and feeling like I was kind of hard done by, and after just enjoying the focus and the concentration that came with just being a pure backend developer, I started to realize wearing a lot of hats can have its value in terms of being able to step back and see a business from a wider perspective. In school, it still sucked just because all those components weren't related to each other necessarily. But I feel like depending on the role you have, if you're not like a researcher, if you're not like super in depth into your scientific field, then wearing one or two hats, not that many, but maybe just a couple, it could be useful.
I would agree. I think you can scale your skills a lot quicker if you wear multiple hats, right? Like you're able to handle more senior positions where you're kind of doing a couple more things. Like obviously it's good to definitely build your skills, especially when you're a developer. I think you've got to become a master of your craft. For me, it would be a little bit different, right? But if you're trying to get into more senior positions, more leadership positions, you're not just working on APIs all day, right? You're talking to other people, you're working on business needs, you're kind of needing presentation skills, communication skills. Like these are all things you develop with consulting roles when you're kind of wearing a bunch of different hats. So I definitely would have to agree. I think there's good and bad to both, right? Sometimes you don't get as much specialization, but then you also get the other aspects of other parts that could be important for your career. So I definitely would have to agree.
Couldn't have said it better.
If you could give yourself one piece of advice before your first day, what would it be?
Do you mean like my first day of ever being a professional, or first day of like my
First day of
current
being a
company?
professional.
So do you just mean like first day of getting my first job, starting my first job?
Correct, yes.
Okay.
So
So not, yeah.
out of college and then you went transitioned over to work. Would you do anything over again? Was there anything you would maybe change?
Not in terms of like how I would have approached my work, because I do think that my growth was very, very good, but mostly in terms of just the decisions that I made in terms of leaving that role. And I think I could have played my cards a little bit differently. The first role was like a contract role. Obviously, I only stayed there for 6 months before I accepted my current offer at my full-time gig, which has treated me well, all things considered. Looking back, I may have given myself a little bit more time there just to wait and see what other opportunities would have presented themselves, especially in a pure development sense. Just because like it's hard to, similarly to how it's hard to go from software development to double E, it's hard to go back to pure software development once you've left. It's yeah, it can be difficult.
No, I definitely understand that. I think when you kind of start out your career as well, you're always just looking for like the next best step, right? And sometimes what you think is the best step may not always be the best step. So I think it's good to definitely feel it out and play your options out. So where do you see your career heading long term? Do you want to stay in consulting, get into something else?
So I'd like to, like most people are saying these days, I'd like to start my own thing, hopefully. But a few factors have to sort of line up for that to occur. But until then, I'd like to just grow, just increase seniority in terms of the work that I'm doing, the scale of and the importance of the day-to-day tasks that I'm in charge of, increase the number of people that report to me. I think I could be a great boss. And yeah, I think that's just scale up in terms of the importance of what I'm already doing and the seniority of what I'm.
Think I think you as a person, you're definitely a very fair person. So I think that's a great quality that someone who is a leader at an organization should have. So I definitely could see you becoming a boss
Thanks, bro.
eventually, training people, teaching people the ways. You're a very patient guy. So what skills do you think every new grad should build if they want to break into software engineering, development, API development?
Well, all your standard stuff. You got to pick one of the three major object-oriented languages. But I guess these days, Python is what's at the forefront of what's being used mostly in terms of modern technology. But you are probably better off having a foundation in either Java or C++. It forces you to do a couple more steps. It might be a little bit of an oversimplification, but the little bit of extra work that you have to do to learn those languages will help you in the long run and will help make Python a breeze, basically. So basically, object orientation, you need one of those three languages. You need to learn data structures, algorithms, and you need to be able to use those things to develop software and to solve problems, basically. You need to be able to whiteboard solutions to problems using software, using your knowledge of these languages in a very short amount of time, because there's no interviews that are like software engineering interviews. Those things are hard as fuck. Yeah.
So, do you think someone needs to actually go through college to become a software developer? Or can someone actually just start coding maybe in high school and then eventually just learn to code and build out APIs or build out an application? Or I know with AI advances nowadays, you don't even need to really learn how to do it. If you know the basics, you can kind of build out applications or build out websites. So what do you think about that?
So I'd say no, you might not necessarily need to, but the thing is that the bar for impressing recruiters is going to be much higher than if you don't have a degree. So your projects that you have on your resume have to be that much more impressive. You got to be just that much more invested in your personal time to that specific subject, because you just need to get the interview, pretty much.
So you think someone who hasn't gone to college is going to have to put in more work on the skill side of things compared to someone who has gone to college? Is that fair?
100%. Yeah,
Okay.
100%. There, because like I could confidently say that they're like legacy, like Ivy League kids who come out of school with having coasted through their CS degrees, and they'll get like phenomenal top tier jobs. But obviously compared to the guy that self studies, you might be better, but he won't even be put in front of those I guess audiences or recruiters or hiring managers.
Interesting. So I guess you just have to be some kind of like protege or like some whiz kid to actually get to that level without a college degree then, would you say?
Not even a whiz kid, because I think that that kind of makes it a little too daunting of a task to undertake. You just got to be really into it, and you'll know when you start whether it's for you or not. Once you like really spend, I'd say like 6 months to a year, just really focused on that, trying to make it work. And if you haven't established momentum by then it may not be for you. But if you have, then I think that is for you, and it's totally worth pursuing, because very few people are actually like into engineering anymore. Like I think that generation has kind of gone a little bit, which is sad to say. But yeah, if you're one of those few that truly love it for the sake of it, then you should really monetize that and pursue it.
So on our last interview, I had my friend who's actually a musician, right? And he was kind of talking about how when you're making music, right, the problem people make is they overthink it. And he was talking about how people make the best music when they're just in like that flow state. Would you kind of say it's the same with the writing code? Is it kind of like just a flow state? You're just doing it without thinking, or is it something you have to think about, and is that something you would get used to after a bunch of practice?
You definitely have to like stare at a screen and not understand something until you understand it. Like a lot of the time, like these problems get really abstract, and there's no like there is to a certain degree clearing the fog. Sometimes there's unavoidable complexity sometimes, and basically you have to sort of break things down into smaller problems, learn the smaller problems to basically learn the bigger picture, which is going to be like some very complex thing end to end.
Interesting. So it's kind of just like taking big problems, breaking them down into smaller chunks, working on the smaller chunks so that eventually you get like a bigger picture.
Yeah, it's nothing like I'd say it's very different from like public speaking, or maybe in the way that your friend pursues music in terms of the flow aspect. It's a little different.
So I'd love to talk more about your kind of upbringing. Obviously, you live in the Bay Area right now, you live in San Francisco. So how do you think growing up Indian American in the Bay Area kind of shaped your worldview?
I think that's quite a question. It obviously played a huge part. I wasn't necessarily like the most big or like imposing kid growing up, so definitely took a little bit of like bullying, I guess, from like other kids. Not like anything out of the ordinary, but you learn to sort of be aware of like the difference in your appearance from like a very young age, I would say. But that being said, I grew to appreciate it pretty quickly, and I I would appreciate the consistency with which my parents would take me back to India. Always nice for a perspective change whenever things just get I guess when things just get a little monotonous in the regular world.
No, yeah, I think you especially, I've told you this before as well. You're different in the sense where I think you connect with India a lot more than maybe some people who grew up Indian American would, who live in the US at the moment. You've definitely always enjoyed going to India even from a younger age, and I think that is always something you've had some appreciation for as far as I can remember. But talking about that, so how did you kind of find it growing up Indian American, right? So in one way, you're sometimes not considered American because you're Indian, but then in some ways, when you go to India, you're not considered Indian either. So how would you kind of consider yourself?
Even today, it's hard to like really say one thing definitively. I have like a mix of both of those backgrounds, but I'd say I lean very much towards being an American, just in terms of like the way I present myself, the way I articulate things, the way I joke around. Yeah, all that stuff.
So did that ever bother you when you were growing up?
No, not really. I mean, I'd probably hope the fact that I was in the Bay Area, like, like everybody is from some random country or another out here, like even the kids in the schools that we went to growing up. So that probably made it a lot easier.
Yeah, I think if you live in a different city, it may have been more of an issue, but I guess
Even
living in
Arizona, like where we went to college, if you like grew up there, I feel like it would have been totally
totally
different story.
different, right? Like you wouldn't want to be considered Indian. You'd be telling people like, "Yeah, I'm American," you know?
Yeah, for
But I
sure.
guess I guess in the Bay Area, yeah, it's a interesting question, but I guess with your kind of background, it didn't really matter as much as it would for someone who's like in Wichita, Kansas or something like that, right?
Oh, for sure, 100%.
So obviously going back to the fact how most people are probably of Southeast Asian, South Asian ethnicity out in the Bay Area. A lot of families, a lot of parents who are first generation, maybe not even first generation. A lot of kids who are first generation. There's a lot
That's me,
of
right? I'm technically first generation.
you're first generation, but I'm talking about the people who came fresh out the boat, had kids here. They're considered first generation, but there is still that cultural and academic pressure, right? Like parents want you to do really well in school. They want you to do better than the other kids. How was that kind of growing up in the Bay Area? And was it like something that bothered you? Was it something that bothered your friends?
Yeah, oh, big time for sure. Like my dad, he came from a very competitive place, I'd say, and like he was always on top of his stuff academically, and out of necessity, pure necessity. He had to came from a very poor area, so he definitely put the pressure on me growing up, as he should. And he pointed this out a lot of times. We would all be aware of this, but like the comfort that I had growing up definitely allowed me to kind of take it easy in certain times and maybe not give 100% of the time. But that being said, like I definitely cleaned up my act and got better as time went on for sure. The way I'm saying this now is making it seem like I was like a problem child, but definitely just was like a little bit lazy, I'd say.
No, and I think it's situation of circumstance, right? At the end of the day, like the upbringing our parents had was also when no internet existed. I think with the internet, it led to a lot of people having a lot more of a easy life. Maybe even kids are a lot lazier nowadays compared to when we were growing up, right? So I think it's just situation of circumstance as well. I think maybe if your dad was raised in India at this time, his life could be a lot different, more opportunities, There wasn't as many opportunities back in the day, but I think that's just natural for most Indian parents to want you to do well and want you to do better than all the other kids.
100%. And
That's
and I'm
just
I'm actually sorry to cut you off, but I'm like just thankful that my little sister is absolute. She has none of those like focus issues. Like she's just a beast. Always, she's sort of made them happy in that way. I'm still doing well in my own regard, but she's giving them that academic straight A satisfaction that they've always craved.
yeah, unfortunately my parents never got that. So
All good.
only child. But anyways, so is there something you wish more people understood about the Indian American identity?
Yeah, I mean, like, a lot of times people just make like a slew of assumptions, and it's easy to do that, but like it takes just a little bit of maturity to kind of to say, hold on, and you don't want to like look at news so much rather than going and talking to the guy. Just a general bit of advice I'd say. It doesn't even just apply to Indians, but yeah, Indian American experience has its struggles, and I think a lot of those can be mitigated with a little bit extra effort.
No, I definitely have to agree. I think I was just thinking about this today. I saw some Twitter posts. It was like super ignorant. And I was just like, people just come to assumptions about things they don't even understand, right? Like they don't even understand why this is happening a certain way, but I'm just gonna make an assumption about it or just judge someone about it. Like
Look
makes
at
no sense.
straight up. Look at this guy. He said it himself. Donald Trump was watching Fox News and wondering why they were saying such bad things, and then he went and met the guy, and he's like, he's great. Mamdani, the new mayor of New York.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah, they're like best friends now, which is extremely hilarious.
That was that one of the top comments I read on that video is, this is what happens when instead of watching Fox News, you actually go and talk to the guy. And I think that advice could be applied in a lot of walks in life. For sure.
Yeah, I think Twitter too. I don't know if you saw this new Twitter update that happened
The
recently.
foreign bot. Okay. Yeah.
So
You can
basically
see the
it shows you the
locations, right?
location, right?
Yeah.
So like people are just calling out all these accounts based out of India and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I get some accounts because there was this like one TDE account that was like based in India and he was like making fun of Drake for not being black or something like that.
Interesting.
He's like based in India.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I kind of get it in some ways, but like
It's really it's cool because what this tells us is looking at the positives that nobody will dare mess with the United States of America in a head-on confrontation, right? Like they'll try to go through all these sneaky Cold War routes to try to divide us basically, because this is where it's at basically.
yeah, I saw America First account that was also based in India, which is quite funny. But yeah, I think people just judge a lot of the times, right? Without even taking, like you said, the time to go and put some effort into understanding, oh, why does this happen? Like you shouldn't judge things you don't understand, especially things that people have been doing for centuries, right? There are things that I don't even understand about the Indian culture. There are things I don't understand about American culture, right? But I think what you're saying is definitely true, where people just kind of make assumptions or like make fun of things without even putting any effort into understanding them. So definitely
Hmm.
think that's
Hmm.
something everyone can change about themselves. So what part of your upbringing do you think helped you the most as an adult?
So I definitely get my like ambition and professional determination and drive, and also my ability to kind of be confident and present myself from my dad. And I get all my EQ and all my ability to like connect with other humans from my mom.
So would you say your parents had a big impact on you growing up?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. The biggest, parents, even my little sister, my grandparents, my grandma on my dad's side who lives with us. Thankfully, she's still doing going strong. She's in the room right next door actually. And my two grandparents, my mom's mom and dad in Chennai in Madras.
Nice. So obviously I've met your grandmother. How's your grandmother been doing? She's quite old, isn't she, at this point?
Yeah, yeah, she's doing well. She's 99 right now.
Wow, she's almost 100.
Yeah, yeah, she's almost 100. I still, I come and I give her food and coffee and stuff in the mornings. And, obviously, my mom does the lion's share of my mom and dad do the lion's share of the work. But she's still doing well. Long may that continue.
Is she able to like walk around and stuff still?
A little bit.
A little bit? Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's able to get up and go to the bathroom and take a shower and stuff like that. Thankfully.
yeah, nice. Yeah, she was extremely strong and smart from my memory of her. So, how has your relationship with being Indian versus being American changed as you've gotten older?
You always have moments that you're like, damn, bro, I kind of got the short straw in terms of the which type of immigrant I am, right? Like, but those are very small moments, and you quickly stop like feeling sorry for yourself and start like seeing the positives in those moments as well. I wasn't troubled even that much. I would say as time went on, the balance started to get there, and I started to have proper appreciation for both sides, proper criticism of both sides as well. And achieved a nice midway point. Still, obviously, I'm not a finished article. We'll see. Hopefully, in 10 years, I will be. And yeah, yeah. But hopefully, I like to think I'm getting there.
So, would you say you feel pretty connected to your Indian heritage and your Indian roots?
Yes, obviously there's areas that I feel like I could do a little bit better. Sometimes, like when my relatives in India will like speak to me in really fast Tamil, it'll be hard for me to like pick up every single thing that they're saying. And in those moments, sometimes I feel a little bit of regret, like shit, I could have been prepared better for this moment, in my life leading up to this. But that being said, I'm still not bad. I'm still able to get most of the connection that I need to have. I want to go back there again, but I need to really get my career in the right place so I can kind of properly enjoy a vacation there. But that being said, grandparents are getting older, and I should go soon.
Yeah, no, I definitely would have to say the same thing, to be honest. I was talking to my grandmom the other day, since it's been a while, and she sounded completely different. She's also getting quite old, right? She's like 87. You can definitely tell, just like you want to spend some time with them before, or you
Totally,
may not have any more left, right? So,
big time.
so when was the last time you visited India?
January 2023, if
Nice.
memory
So,
serves.
do you feel pretty comfortable in India, even though you've never really grown up there?
Yeah, it obviously it takes some adjustment. Like every time I go back, obviously I gotta like it takes like a day or two to get back into the swing of things. And obviously I have Manoj to vouch for me here. I don't go to an easy part of India to go to necessarily to like in terms of being able to acclimate. Chennai can be pretty oppressive weather-wise. And yeah, so like I definitely I have it cut out for me, but I'm able to adjust and adapt pretty well. And once you embrace it, you do fine.
Do you enjoy going back to India?
Yeah, yeah, of course. Absolutely. It's nice when, like you're back there as well, and I have like some friends my age to go and hang out with. The only, it's not even a gripe, but like in Madras, it's just mostly little kids and like grandparents and stuff like that, and older relatives basically. Add that to the fact that the city doesn't it's a pretty conservative city to begin with. Like it's not really that big of a scene in terms of going out.
I've heard it's actually gotten a little better nowadays. Like it
Kind of
is
better.
getting a lot more like commercialized. But coming back to kind of what you said, where you didn't have people your age or as more adults, I think that is something that a lot of people who are born in the US tend to have an issue with when they go back to India, right? Like they don't have people their age to kind of show them around and take them around and show them like the true side of someone who's maybe 15, 16, 17 in India, right? So they just assume India is just going to relatives' houses, eating lunch at their house, and going back home to sleep. That's pretty much their experience of India, right? So I was actually
And
talking.
their parents could help them, you know? Like, I don't know why they don't show them anything different.
Yeah, no, I was actually thinking about it, right? So, like, say for example, if I were to live in the US the rest of my life, I would still want my kids to go back to India. And obviously, I would make them visit people. But, like, I have friends in India, right? They're probably going to have kids. I would help them find kids their age to kind of hang out with, show them around, show them a good time, right? I think, obviously, when you're like 15, 16, you don't want to be hanging out with a bunch of adults. You generally just want to be with your friends most of the time at that age, right? So if you have friends in that country, I think it makes it a lot easier. And India can be very fun, like you've experienced as well. Like if you know what to do and where to go, it can be a great time. But I think a lot of Indian American kids are just kind of lost in that way where they just don't know what to do. So they either just sit at home all day or they just go to like a relative's house and have lunch, coffee, and come back home, right?
Yeah, yeah. And get like asked about like your life and like how's school going and
Exactly.
stuff like.
No, I mean it's something I didn't really understand. I still am not the most enthusiastic about it, right? But like we were just talking about, right? These are people who are family to us and they may not be around the next time you come down to India 5 years from now, right? So I think it's still definitely good to visit. When I was 18, my parents would take me to like my granddad's brother's house and I'd be like, I don't even know them. Why do I gotta go see them? But then you understand it. You're just like, okay, at 25, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, they pass away, someone passes away, someone close to you, you could be like, okay, damn, I should have visited them a lot more, you know?
Yeah, no, always. That's always true. So you want to be like, proud of where you're at though, then you're happier to repeat that a bunch of times. But you're totally right. That being said, you can't waste those opportunities. You got to go as much as you can.
Yeah, for sure. No, but I think at the end of the day, your family doesn't care
They don't
about you
judge
for
you,
your
right? They don't give a shit.
accomplishments,
It's,
right?
it's
Yeah,
just
they
me. Yeah,
they
yeah,
just
no.
care about you as a person. So
You're right.
I think that's one thing about family too, especially with India being such a family sort of oriented society where people just care about you to see your face and just talk to you for a couple minutes. You may not even have a full conversation, but that's just enough, right? Like it's that bond. It's like we're related.
Yeah. So actually, I have tickets booked. We're supposed to go on December 11th, but I might not be able to, just depending on a couple things work wise. That's why I'm just I haven't told you about that yet, but it's still up in
Up
the
in
air.
the air right now. Yeah, December is always a good time to go to India.
Yeah,
The most crowded time for sure, but definitely a good time to go to India.
for sure,
Weather's a lot better than it usually would be, especially in Chennai where you go.
for sure, big time, big time.
So I think I wanted to talk a little bit more about just life, your outlook, growth. What does success mean to you now compared to what it meant maybe 5 years ago?
So 5 years ago, I was just getting out of school. I would say success meant to me just a smaller scale version of what I'm doing right now. Obviously, I had a certain salary range that I wanted to make, a certain type of job that I wanted to achieve, and I was able to do that, thankfully, and progressed from that point. Yeah, it's just similar goals, but just the scale has increased a little bit, I'd say. And obviously, there's other goals as well. When I finished school, it was right in the middle of the pandemic, and I felt like I had lost a bunch of social skills. So, and my first job out of college was remote, so I needed to like regain those in some way. So I had to take some time to focus on that a little bit and get that back up to speed.
Yeah, I think our batch of college or the people who graduated around the same time as us, we kind of lost out on that fact where we didn't really get like a graduation, nor did we kind of ever get like an in-person job after our first few years of college, right? My first job was remote as well. I didn't ever go into the office, never saw my colleagues. So we went from basically doing online classes to doing online work. So I don't think it was that much of a transition to actually step into working now that I think about it. But I definitely have to agree. I think just COVID kind of fucked everything up where we were both kind of just sitting at home, hermits, working on a laptop, and then you finish your day, eat dinner, go to sleep, right? You don't really have any social connections, or you kind of can definitely just get into your shell and you just don't really talk to people or end up doing things apart from just working. But
Agreed.
what's maybe a life philosophy or mindset you've kind of adopted recently that's changed how you live?
Oh man, I'd say with like the stress, I've always liked to think of myself as a generally positive person, but with the stresses of modern day work and life and stuff, it can kind of bog you down a little bit and affect your mentality a little bit. And I would say that a key thing is to just never let that project onto the people that are around you that you care about, because that can happen very easily and it's not a good energy to put out there. And you sort of you get what you put out there in return, so you get what you give, I guess, is a better way to say that. But that being said, I'm always of the obligation that, as a human, you're obligated to contribute some like level of excitement or positivity to every interaction or conversation that you're ever a part of. So I think that's a good way to live your life. Good things will happen.
Yeah, no, I definitely would have to agree. That's honestly a great way to look at things. I don't think it's easy to necessarily do that every day, like every single minute. Obviously, life's full of ups and downs, right? But I think that's a good way to look at it, just being optimistic as well instead of being a pessimist. I think that's something probably a lot of people struggle with. I've struggled with it myself. It's just you
It's
always think.
free, right?
No,
Yeah,
you're totally right. Being a positive person, just bringing good energy, good vibes, I think it doesn't hurt anyone. It only provides value, right? Like
exactly.
it's just good to definitely do that. So, what habits or routines do you think contributed most to your mental clarity or growth?
Exercising is always important. Doing a good mix of like, I guess, aerobics and weightlifting. You got to keep pushing yourself physically. That's always good for maintaining a good mental state. I'd say, making sure feng shui is very important as well. You got to get a good amount of sunlight every day. You can't just be cooped up in your room, and drinking water. Just basically just general health upkeep. To answer your question.
I think a lot of people forget about that. So definitely things to consider. I think I've definitely been a person who doesn't go outside, like don't get any sunlight. But
You
I,
drink a lot of water though, which I always I need to get
yeah,
better about
I
that.
do drink a lot of water, but sometimes I don't tend to leave the house, obviously working remote, right? You just sit in the room all day. So definitely sunlight, key one, I would say as well. Working out, definitely have to agree. So what's something that you used to care about a lot that you probably don't care about anymore?
I used to like play soccer like really seriously, and like I completely like switched. Like I still love it a lot, but like I stopped playing, like switch sports. I mean, probably I credit some of that to just your environment changes when you go from high school to college. You're like playing in a team in high school, and you're playing in a club in high school as well. But obviously, like like the professional track, right? So you're not gonna go to college and do that there. I'd say that was part of the reason for my pivot, but I started taking up boxing, which I like to talk about a lot, and I made like a full pivot. I completely switched sports basically. I only, in terms of like what I train or like what I practice, like it's only boxing.
Interesting. So how do you kind of balance ambition with enjoying the present?
Oh man, it's tough. You just can't be like nervous about what's in the future. Even though like I say that, even though like I am all the time, but like you can't like worry about outcomes, especially like when you've already done something like and you can't really change anything. Like you got to just take things moment by moment and do your best. Basically, preparation meets opportunity, but just don't trip about it too much.
I think that's definitely something I've struggled with as well, is just being present, not worrying about the future, not tending to think about your past, right? Like, I think a lot of people have that issue where you're just not patient enough. So you just keep thinking like good things are happening to you, but good things do take time, right? It may not happen like 3 months, 6 months. It could take a year, 2 years, 3 years, but I feel like as long as you keep putting in the effort and you keep doing the right things will work out and things will happen. It's just about keeping your eye on the prize and just keep doing well and enjoying the moments while you're in it, right? I think, at least me, I'm very guilty of not being grateful for a lot of the things that I have, the opportunities that I have, the experiences that I've had. And I think a lot of the times that is just due to the fact that I'm not happy with my current situation, right? Even though a lot of people could kill for my situation, but I think just as humans, you kind of want more and more and more. You have ambitions that you kind of set for yourself. And if you don't reach it, you just don't believe that you achieved everything that you need to achieve, right? And I think that's just human nature. But I would have to definitely say living in the present is something that I've been trying to do more recently. And I know you have been as well. So, what is the greatest sort of lesson you've learned in your 20s so far?
I would say in my teens, I'm 28 right now. The greatest lesson, it's tough to think of just one, but if I had to put my finger on it, I would just say to kind of just maintain general positivity related to what we were saying earlier. Don't let anything get you down too much because like it just shows weakness, like to attribute that much attention really to something negative, So like maintaining general positivity is always good. Yeah, if you can like kind of handle stressful situations with like rolling with the punches, then you're in good shape.
Yeah, having a positive outlook, I think definitely is something that you kind of pick up as you grow older compared to when you're maybe 18 to 20, 21. Definitely think that's a great trait to have or a great skill to pick up for sure. So we've obviously known each other from forever. What's a moment from childhood that kind of still influences you today?
Um, dude, like we went to that that private school growing up for elementary school before you moved to Bangalore, and that was more of like a daycare, like yeah, rather than a schooling experience. Yeah, it was interesting. It was cool. A lot of characters were there and emerged out of that. It was very unique, looking back. I'd say.
So do you think that experience kind of helped shape your outlook on life?
Yeah, for sure. There's quite a bit of diversity in that Delphi Academy. So you saw like people from all different walks of life, not just Indians. And I thought that gave me some pretty valuable perspective, like especially going to a public high school and kind of seeing this sounds like really arrogant. There's this stereotype that's often true about Americans and their like lack of outside knowledge. There's a lot of truth to that, and the public schooling system is largely responsible for that. Delphi used to take us on field trips like what once every 2 weeks to like some random cool ass place. Right? Obviously, this is a fucking private school that we paid like a crap ton of money for.
Yeah, honestly, I don't even remember that, but that's a good way to look at it because I do think the public school system can be blamed for the general outlook of Americans on the world, right? Americans are very in their bubble. They're not very exposed to anything outside the world.
They're like proud of like being ignorant like a lot of the time, which is like not a good thing to be proud of.
Yet I can definitely say you're one person who's very exposed to everything that's happening in the world, even though you did just grow up in the US your whole life. So you're definitely someone who's not like that, I would say.
Thank you,
So
man.
if your younger self saw you now, what do you think he would be proud of and what would maybe surprise him?
I think he'd be proud of my ability to diffuse like aggressive or like confrontational situations basically. Like maybe as a kid like I didn't have the confidence or personality enough to do that, but as I've gotten older like you kind of have to a little bit. So I've been able to grow up in that regard. So I think like my younger self would be impressed with my growth in that aspect. But also like definitely there's some things that I gotta tighten up on as well. And yeah, the younger self would like to see that, I'm sure, as well.
I definitely think you have grown a lot as a person, very proud of your own growth. So if you weren't in consulting, what would you be doing right now or what could you see yourself doing?
I'm just pure engineering. I accepted this most recent offer just because it's a big company and for the brand name. But I don't think that many consultants, there's a large percentage of consultants that feel that fulfilled in their lives. So I would probably be something purely tech focused.
So what if you weren't an engineer? What could you see yourself doing apart from that?
Oh, that's a good question. If I wasn't an engineer, maybe something related to like journalism or like something artistic. I always liked the idea of going around and being an investigative journalist. I wrote for my high school's newspaper for a year. Yeah, that's maybe something along those lines. Honestly, I had a half mind to pick the journalism school when I was applying to ASU, but very very quickly pivoted to something that would make me about
Pay a
four
little
times
more.
as much money like out of college. Yeah.
No, but that's interesting. I honestly didn't even know you enjoyed journalism, knowing you for this long. But final couple of questions here. I just want to kind of ask you about life. I kind of asked this question to everyone on the podcast. So, do you think happiness is something you chase or something you cultivate?
I'd say true happiness has to be cultivated. It has to come from like deep, deep within, and has to like be the result of like some sort of reconciliation with like whatever is going on internally, and then you can be happy, basically.
So, do you think your idea of happiness has kind of changed as you've gotten older?
Probably, yeah. Like when you're a kid, you're not responsible at all, or like you're not really caring about what's around you that much. But I think as I get older, it makes you happy to like do good things for people, that you care about, and those things that's like a form of true happiness, I'd say. And yeah, you start to appreciate that stuff more, and you start to like not like spread yourself too thin as well, because it can be easy to overdo that, and then you feel like your energy is being sucked out of you. If you can find that balance, and you'll be good.
So, similar sort of question. Do you think success and happiness kind of interrelated?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say like 80%, maybe like that 20% is, you see some people in third world countries who don't like really necessarily compare themselves, right, to anything that they don't have, and those people look genuinely happy to me. And yeah, I'd say just it just depends on the person. Some people is very much correlated with their happiness. I'd say for me, I need to like accomplish something to like really be proud of myself and be happy. But yeah, I'd say it depends on the person. Like some people just genuinely don't need that.
I think you gave a great example of in third world countries, specifically when I was in India. There are definitely people who make $10 a day and you can genuinely see how happy they are just to be alive, just to do the work that they're doing. I think in that way as well, we grew up in a generation where we have the internet, so we're constantly comparing ourselves to not only our friends, but to random people that we see on the internet who are doing better than us. But
Totally.
last question is, if you could leave people with one idea or piece of advice you've learned, what would it be?
Leave the room that you're in with everybody else there being better off than they were before.
Oh, yeah, I think that's a great way to end it off. Appreciate you coming on, talking about your life, and I really enjoyed this conversation, Ash. Hopefully, we'll see you soon on another episode, maybe sometime later down the line. But yeah, appreciate it and appreciate you guys for listening.